You know what they say, every picture tells a story, and when you look at this particular picture, it certainly tells you everything that's going on in the relationship between, of course, the disgraced former Duke of York, Prince Andrew, and of course His Royal Highness Prince William, the Prince of Wales, and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And this really is the problem of exactly how Andrew's demise was accelerated. It all happened at the Duchess of Kent's funeral. Today I'm going to tell you exactly behind the scenes what truly happened. As ever though, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much as ever for joining me and welcome back. Nice to have your company here on now a blustery day in London town. And thank you for all your positive messages when I mentioned about there are one or two, people that say, oh, just get on with the story. And my argument, as I've said before, is, look, we are a community, a friendship group, and I really stand by that. It's for people who are on their own, looking for company, like we all are, and we want to just share bits and pieces, tidbits, things we've seen, things that make us laugh, smile, debate, conversation. If you're on your own, it's vital. And it's all very well people saying, get to the point. Join another group. There are many other companies and many other things out there that you could get involved with. Nobody forces you to press on the button. So thank you for all your support, chums. I truly mean that. It's very, very kind. Now, of course, let's get back to the story of the day. Yes, absolutely. It was a very sad thing for me, actually, the Duchess of Kent's funeral at Westminster Cathedral. She was a lovely, lovely lady and really didn't get herself into any sort of controversies or anything. The biggest was the fact that she wanted to join the Catholic faith. And when you think about it now, how wonderful would it have been for her to be part, if she'd have, sadly carried on, to be part of that entourage, the royal entourage, to go and meet the Pope alongside His Majesty the King and Queen Camilla. I mean, it was just marvellous. Whichever you think, whatever religion your background, it's nice to see people getting together. Now, the same really couldn't be said on this particular occasion because once again there was huge problems behind the scene. And the problem that you really had was, and this is the going forward, this is going to be the ongoing issue now for, the sort of life, whatever you want to call it, with the former Duke of York. You see, it's a firm, right, which is the monarchy, and they have to be seen unified and in unity and together. And for instance, when we see them walking down on Christmas Day on their way to church, it is heartwarming. It signifies in our Christian country that there they are going to worship God on of course, the most important day. And it is one of those things that we like. And, good and bad, we've seen many scandals in the royal family, but seemingly we've been able to get over them. As I said to you the other day, part of my, issue is I don't really have a problem with Andrew's housing and what he wants to do, whether he stays in Royal Lodge or not. To me, it's about the truth of the victims, his involvement, if any, because, he refutes all of those allegations. And again, people are very quick to jump and attack you and say, you're making excuses. We all have the right to have the side of our story. Sometimes something can come up from nowhere, nobody saw it coming, and then, they all go back into the ground, don't they? This is what annoys me. My problem with Andrew is simply the truth needs to be told. And he was given an opportunity, and seemingly he didn't tell the truth on that BBC interview. But again, we don't know the reasoning for that. Maybe he did. Who knows? Sadly, the lady involved isn't here to counteract that. All we've now got is her ghost-written memoir. And as I said the other day, there are lots of things attached to that previous story which are out there on record, and of course whether you want to read them or not, that's up to you to see the both sides. But this story really is about this one image. And if you could see the thunder that was, of course, directed from the Prince of Wales, and good reason. See, I can tell you that the agreement was simply this. There was a big problem about whether Andrew should attend the Duchess of Kent's funeral. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because, as I said, it's a family event. So at this point, both of them, including Sarah Ferguson as she is now, they said they'd like to attend. And naturally, they'd had a good relationship with the Duchess of Kent, very much a warm and loving relationship. So why wouldn't Prince Andrew want to give, his respects, and indeed Sarah Ferguson? Now, the problem that you have, and this is where it gets interesting again, is that I was told from an excellent source that this didn't sit well with the Prince and Princess of Wales for obvious reasons. And, not to put a too fine a point on it, basically William cannot abide to be in the same space as Prince Andrew. There's another attachment to that. It's not just what you think it may be. There's a bigger issue going on there. Now, what you can see, and we've seen this before with Andrew, is he doesn't really take any prisoners. And we saw, didn't we, if you remember, when he stepped out at, I think it was at the funeral of his father, and started talking to reporters. You know, nobody really can control him because he's had a life of privilege, he's had a life of being able to do what he wants and all of that sort of stuff. So who's going to tell him? Now, of course, it's not the Prince of Wales's position or indeed power to be able to say, stop it, you know, you're not doing it, we're not having it. Now, what agreement was this? That, you know, yes, in the end, because of course they didn't want to have any family friction, the Duke of York, alongside Sarah, were finally invited to pay their respects at Westminster Cathedral. But the remit was that they would keep well away from the Prince and Princess of Wales. And again, at this point, I have to say allegedly, but it's very clear, and this is from an excellent source. And the reason being is that William didn't want to have this issue of the media picking apart what was Catherine saying, what was he saying, etc. All was going well until the end of that service. The royals were departing, of course, and we all saw it played out on the cameras and in print. And suddenly the media got exactly what Prince William didn't want them to get. And this is because Andrew, although he'd been told not to get too close to the Prince and Princess of Wales, and indeed keep his distance from most senior members of the monarchy, he took no heed. And the other side of it is he could have really been and used this opportunity to show them that he could behave, right? Now, all he needed to really do was stay in the background and you know, just come out in the last, or indeed make sure there was a car waiting there and quietly disperse him and himself away, right? But no, he didn't want to do it. He seized an opportunity, and the moment that, of course, the cars were pulling up, and this is where they were waiting after they'd thanked, of course, Cardinal Nichols, who is the main man at Westminster Cathedral. Well, the bottom line was he took that opportunity to go up and strike a conversation. If you look at the camera work, you can see that William is very much yes, no, yes, no. Andrew is not having it. Now, the reason being, I've been told, is that he felt that he wanted to be able to break the ice with William on the public stage where he couldn't hit back, and so that the public could see he was trying his best to try and make amends with both Catherine and William. He realised they'd had a difficult and fractious relationship, and so suddenly thought, well, this is the opportunity. And that's the reason really why Sarah and Andrew were trying to make light of it. They weren't being disrespectful, according to sources there. They were just being jolly, because that's really what the Duchess of Kent was about. She didn't really want this sad state of affairs. William spotted the cameras and knew straight away. Now, what you've seen as they turn around, the bottom line was William was hoping, and this is according to, again, an excellent source, that he basically pointed out to Andrew, you're not sticking to the rule. And the rule was to keep the distance, to remove themselves away. They turned back, and of course Andrew doesn't want to be caught on camera looking like he's being told off, but that's truly what happened. As that sort of engulfed, the scandal started to raise and get further and further. Obviously, William took the opportunity to accelerate the situation that he now wanted to do, i.e. removal, titles, Order of the Garter, all of that sort of stuff. Now, you know, as devil's advocate, you could say, I could see what Andrew was trying to do. This is a private family event. But it's never private, is it, in the eyes of the monarchy? There's always somebody going to be filming you. There's always somebody going to be looking and zooming in, lip reading, etc. But apparently when they got back, and then there was obviously this sort of informal gathering, Andrew definitely kept his distance. In fact, only stayed at the informal gathering around about 12-15 minutes because he realised this. Apparently Sarah tried her very best to placate the situation because ultimately she's always got on quite well with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And, you know, she didn't want the fallout, but there was no go. It wasn't happening. And then the pictures came out online. And William said, this is exactly the reason why I didn't want him to attend. And that's the true story behind the scenes of this picture. And as I said, it's a really sad state of affairs when you think, because clearly, behind the scenes, this could have all been stopped. It could have not happened. I'm not saying this wouldn't change the direction of travel of exactly where Andrew is now. But now, of course, he's made it worse for himself by sort of embroiling the Prince and Princess of Wales. William could see exactly what the media were looking for, and Andrew gave them it. And then he's kind of stunned that a few days down the line, suddenly, William's still very angry about this bad press. What was Andrew saying? Why didn't William want to talk to him? Remember, this is just ahead of his own Apple TV interview. He didn't need the negative press, but Andrew once again managed to self-serve, place it there, and more importantly, embroil the Prince and Princess of Wales. And that, I am told, is the true story behind this particular picture. It's going to be interesting because people say, well, will Andrew get invited to other private events? And I would say yes, but this time around, I think it will be far more discreet. And one more slip up, if he decides to pop out in front of the media, well, I don't think there will be any more. As for him going to live up in Scotland, that's always been bandied around for years. It's just a story in the media. But it's always good to share the inside track on stories like this. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.